Okay, I have 7 o'clock. Let's call to order this meeting of the North Fair Oaks Community Council. Can we do a roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Brooks Esser.
Present.
Vice Chair Juan Carlos Prado.
Present.
Councilmember Beatriz Cedrillo.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Joanny Gillespie.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Linda Lopez. Okay. Councilmember Everardo Rodriguez.
Here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jennifer Ruiz. Councilmember Blair Whitney.
Here.
Thank you. Youth Councilmember Gabriela Aki.
Here.
Thank you. And Youth Councilmember Citlali Corencita.
Here.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Yeah, Jennifer, if you would please reflect that Linda Lopez is indeed here now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is public comment. Anyone may speak up to 2 minutes on any topic that's not on the agenda. Keep in mind that the council cannot discuss or take action on items not on the agenda this evening. Do we have any public comment, Jennifer?
We don't have written comments. However, if you would like to organize the public comment, we will use the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comments. If you do have a public comment, please use the raise hand feature now, and I will give you 2 minutes to present your public comment. Anna, does anyone on the line have a public comment?
There is no one in the line that has a public comment. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to you, Chair.
Very good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is report outs. The first up is a supervisor's report. I see Maggie in the room. Go ahead, Maggie.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, wait. I thought I saw my mic twice. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but as long as you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear
Okay,
you.
I just see myself twice in 2 different.
I think one is your feed. The other is Penn Television, Maggie. So
Okay.
Yeah, caught me out too. So don't worry about it.
I was like, wow, I have a twin. Anyways. So my name is Maggie Cornejo. I'm a legislative aide to Supervisor Warren Slocum. And I have a couple of things to report on. The first one is that it's related to the topic of vaccine pop-up efforts. As you all know, the battle with COVID still continues, and we encourage everybody who's eligible to get vaccinated and continue wearing their face masks. Recently, Supervisor Slocum met with Pastor Ginevro, I think it's pronounced, from Little Flock Church of God. And they've connected and had an introduction. But the point of the meeting was to see how that church can help the residents of North Fair Oaks. So the supervisor connected him to the vaccine pop-up efforts. We're still working on some of the details, but hopefully that's something that can come to that religious space in North Fair Oaks. The second thing that I have to report on, as you all know, I think in the past we talked about how there was a fire on 730 Barron Avenue. The supervisor just wants to let you all know that the county continues to work on helping the residents of this mobile home park get their their units up to code and making sure that hopefully this doesn't happen again. I believe there's some inspections that are scheduled for the end of the month. We've been working with like planning and building, Justin, OCA, environmental health, the fire department of Redwood City, and other county people that are all helping to make the mobile home park better. The third item is in relation to Redwood City schools. So voters helped pass Measure T, which was resulted in funding for several construction projects in Redwood City schools, specifically to those schools that the children in North Fair Oaks attend. So it's like Taft, Hoover, and Garfield. Hoover School was they just finished their construction, and it's now a new gym that includes a rock climbing wall, and it has like a stage for performances. It's really cool, very modern. And Garfield is still in the process of completing their construction. If you drive by, you can see the construction in the back. And then Taft, I think, is in the same, also in the process. And then the last thing is Board of Supervisors update. On September 14th, the Board of Supervisors in the supervisor meeting, Supervisor Canepa and Supervisor Slocum brought forward a resolution to set racial equity as a priority. The resolution has specific actions, including setting up the Office of Equity and Social Justice,
It looks like Maggie
I
froze.
believe Maggie is frozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll give her a second to unfreeze.
And through the chair, can you have her repeat that last sentence?
Yeah.
Thank
If I can get a hold of her, let me
Complete
try to send her a
equity
chat or
assessment.
something. I'm sorry, Maggie, you froze for a bit. If you could talk a little bit more about the initiative that Supervisors Canepa and Slocum.
Okay, was that the last thing?
That was the last thing we heard. We got to establish the Office of Equity and Social Justice.
Okay.
And that was about it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so both Supervisor Slocum and Supervisor Canepa brought forward a resolution on race and equity, and it focuses on including actions like setting up the Office of Equity and Social Justice, and it includes tools to complete equity assessment, as well as data and metrics. And then the last item is on redistricting, just encouraging people to attend or to participate in these meetings that are happening. I believe there was one last weekend, and I think Brooks attended the chair. So I'll leave it to him to report and tell you all. But that concludes my report. If there's any questions or comments.
Okay. I see Linda's, Councilmember Lopez. You have your hand up, Linda. Question for Maggie.
Hi, Maggie. Thank you. Thank you. I'm a little unclear about are there two new offices, racial equity and social justice, or is one under the other?
So from my understanding is the Office of Equity and Social Justice.
Is one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless,
Okay. So,
yeah, go ahead. Unless that's different. I see Justin raised his hand, so maybe it's two different
Yeah,
ones.
no, it's one title, and the resolution called for the creation of that office. It's not yet been created, and staff is engaging with the community and with others on that, but it will be one office, Councilmember Lopez, a single office. The exact title of it is going to be something like racial equity and social justice, but that it's not yet been created.
and how does all of this relate to county employee training? Or does it? Is it strictly for the community? Or how is it connected to improving how county employees interact with the public? That's my question.
So this is, I don't know what the logistics or like the details will be on the plan, the specifics of the plan. But I know that Shireen, the Chief Equity Officer, has some plans for training in the future for the county.
Yeah, through the chair, if I could just add some more color. Councilwoman, it's a pretty broad topic the way you described it. Absolutely, this office will look at how the county serves our entire community, particularly our vulnerable communities. Part of that will certainly be the way we develop our programs, the way we interface with the public. We already have some existing programs. Many of our county staff have participated in the GARE training, the Government Alliance for Racial Equity, which includes many components of sort of, I think the sort of thing you're talking about in terms of being sensitive to the different needs of different parts of our community. So that it's all kind of wrapped up. And so I can't, if you had a more specific question, I'm happy to answer it now or offline, but also this is still very much in development. This resolution called for the creation of this office, and the county manager, along with other departments, are working on the creation of that office.
No, you're on the right track, Justin. Thank you. My thinking is that racial equity are words that are just being thrown around left and right. And what does it really mean? Where are the real, what is going to be the practice? And along with having that position and promoting that within interaction with the community, there's a lot of issues within the county amongst employees. And so my thinking is, how are you helping? How is this going to also engage employees? And, because there's some real issues. So that, I think what you followed up with is exactly what I'm thinking, but I haven't seen the entitled premise for what it's going to do. So what do you suggest then for council members as far as getting more information on what the actual office is going to honor or promote?
Well, we can certainly, as the office is developed and launched, we will be not only engaging with our community leaders, but certainly there will be an announcement process, and we can absolutely come back and report on the office once it's created, sense of its parameters, its structure, all of that. And we can go ahead and put that, if that would be something the council would like. I imagine we'll be doing that, across our entire community, but we'd be happy to come back and report on that.
Yeah, I thank you. I appreciate that, because just to open up a new office and use the words racial equity to me doesn't really mean anything, but what it's going to do, of course, has more relevance. But thank you very much. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Maggie? Okay, let's move on to the county manager's report. Justin, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be with you again after a little bit of a hiatus. I don't have much from the county manager's office. Later on, I will be discussing the district lines advisory commission and the current redistricting processes that we're undergoing right now. So I'll reserve my comments on that for that period. I did, Chair Esser, before the meeting started, you did ask a question about in-person meetings and where the county sits on in-person meetings. And for that, I am going to ask your counsel, Tim Fox, to give you an update on the law regarding the Brown Act.
Good evening, everyone. On Thursday of last week, Governor Newsom signed a bill that had been making its way through the legislature called AB 361. We knew it was coming. We had some time to think about it in advance, and yet still the last week has been a bit of a scramble to really fully understand the implications of what that legislation means. Effectively, the meeting procedures that we have been using since roughly March of 2020 have been pursuant to an executive order of the governor that changed and waived certain requirements of how teleconference meetings are conducted. And by further executive order, Governor Newsom established that on October 1st of this year, all of those waivers would expire and we would no longer be able to meet via 100% teleconference the way that we had in the past. What the legislature did with AB 361 is it allowed each local legislative body to determine whether or not conducting in-person meetings presented an imminent risk to the health and safety of attendees. And it provided a process by which each agency could adopt findings that would allow them to continue to operate under roughly, not precisely, but roughly the same rules as have been in effect since March of 2020. So it is within the council's option to continue to meet by telepresence. We have proposed findings for you to make at your first meeting occurring after October 1st, which is entirely compliant with the law to do so. And you can make the findings and continue to meet in this format for as long as you think that meeting in person might present an imminent risk to the health and safety of attendees. The law doesn't establish exactly what metrics should be used to determine what imminent risk is. It's left to each community to sort of determine whether or not meeting in person and the conditions in which they might meet in person would present an imminent risk, because it's going to be very different for every city, every county, every special district, every municipal advisory committee. And we've learned that in some cases, the practicalities sometimes come down even to what does the meeting space look like? And would it be possible to conduct an in-person meeting safely in the meeting spaces that are available? And so while I'm not giving a specific recommendation to the council about whether to make such a finding, some of the things you might take into account are, although it's usually the case that we meet in a room where the public is not particularly overcrowded, unlike a thing like a concert venue or a play, we don't sell tickets to our public meetings. We don't anticipate in advance how many people might want to appear. And we really don't have a lot of tools in our toolkit for ensuring safe social distancing and masking in each of our meeting spaces. So generally speaking, we found that most of the legislative bodies are interested in continuing, at least in the near term, with the familiar online meeting format. There are a number of people that see some substantial benefits to the way that these meetings are conducted in comparison to in-person meetings. So we definitely anticipate that many of the agencies of the county, the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission, the Civil Service Commission, maybe others, will probably adopt findings at their meetings and conduct their meetings in person, or conduct their meetings in the manner that they had been accustomed to during the course of the pandemic. So I'm happy to answer questions about what we anticipate will happen for AB 361, but in general, I think the county manager is going to be coming to each of the municipal advisory committees and preparing proposed findings for you to adopt so that you can conduct your meetings online for as long as you wish to.
Councilmember Rodriguez, ever I see your hand up for a question.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. More than a question, it is a comment. I think regarding meetings, I think it would be good for our council to maybe put this topic for discussion at the next study session, so that we talk about the merits of meeting in person versus meeting virtually. So by the time that we need to make a decision, we already have sort of an informed opinion about it.
Just by way of clarification in terms of timing, after October 1st, you need to meet in person unless you have adopted findings in relation to that meeting and each 30 days. So I definitely think it's possible for us to set up a more in-depth discussion of the merits of in-person meetings, but you may see at a future meeting this appearing on an agenda because it's necessary just to have clarity about what kind of meeting we're going to conduct for that night. And then you can have a discussion in greater detail about how you want to transition back, if you adopt findings, the timeline for you to transition back to in-person meetings based on the needs of the community as you see them.
Justin, I see your hand up. Do you have a comment on this?
Yeah, just thank you, Tim, for that explanation. I think that it would make sense. What I've been hearing other boards and commissions are planning to do is, that next October meeting likely be held remotely. And at that point in October, we will know what the Board of Supervisors decided to do with its own meetings.
Good.
And at that point, this council may find that to be a helpful data point as it decides for itself what to do after October. But given the time frame, a lot of boards that the discussions I've been hearing are that October meeting, they'll make some findings that the October meeting is kosher, if you will, under the law, and then make some decisions then about the future meetings after that.
Very well. Let's, if there's no objection among council members, let's discuss this during the October meeting. Take the example of what the Board of Supervisors is doing, and have a discussion about meeting virtually versus meeting in person after that. Does anyone have a comment or a question with regard to that?
So through the chair, then that meeting
Yes, Linda.
would be a virtual meeting?
That will be a virtual meeting.
Okay,
if I understand correct from Tim, the Board of Supervisors is meeting virtually in October. Is that correct?
And then for us to finalize what we do going forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like that is the way to go on this.
Okay. You have anything else this evening, Justin? Okay, thank you. Council members' reports. I'll go ahead and go first. We have a very full agenda tonight, so I'm going to try to be brief. A couple of things, though. First, the North Fair Oaks Community Festival is going to return next year. I'm on the planning committee for that. The tentative dates are either August 7th or August 14th. Sal Zuno, who we're all familiar with, of the Sheriff's Department, is going to manage that project. He's currently researching locations. The sheriff's intent in this is that the event's going to be somewhat smaller than in years past, but much more focused on the North Fair Oaks community, the inclusion of local vendors, musicians, that sort of thing. The next team meeting on this is October 20th, and I'll report out to the council as we progress on that. Second, I attended an update meeting on the Middlefield Road project. Of course, the work's already begun on this. The sewer work is being done now. It started in mid-July, and that's going to carry on through the end of December. The utilities trench work is going to begin after that. And the schedule as of right now is for completion in October of next year, with the exception of the undergrounding of the utilities, which will occur after that. Finally, Linda, Ever, and I attended a meeting with representatives of the other community councils in the county. That would be Pescadero and Mid-Coast. It was an interesting session. We discussed the issues that are unique, quite frankly, to each of our areas, and really opened a dialogue among the councils. We're planning future sessions, and I'll report out on those as they occur. That's my report for this evening. Vice Chair Prado, do you have a report out tonight?
I do not.
Okay. Council Member Surreal? Beatrice?
I attended the Zoom meeting on redistricting on Saturday. It was informational. I yet have to try it, but that's my next step. I found it very interesting. I thought it was very good information, and I need to study it further and actually participate in the mapping to see how difficult it was or is. I don't know.
That's terrific. So you're going to try using the tools and drawing maps and that sort of thing. That's terrific. Councilmember Gillespie, Joni? I believe you're on mute, Joni. Do you have a report out tonight?
Yeah, sorry, I just got off mute. No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay. Councilmember Lopez, Linda, your report?
Yes, just that I continue to work with the on the collaborative project of the North Fair Oaks Fifth Avenue Underpass, which has a healthy community mural project that we're working on. And we are at the point of developing a online survey to get more input from community about what topics they want to see, on the murals. We're looking at anywhere from 16 to 19 murals. And so there's a lot of different topics under healthy community, but that's where we're at. And this is, I should say, a collaboration with San Mateo County Office of Arts and Culture and the community-based culture collective, North Fair Oaks. And I believe this was presented a couple of months ago, I think, to the council.
That's
so
right.
It's still moving, and this is a good thing. Keep it moving and with the plan, and that's it. Thank you.
Quick question for you, Councilmember Lopez. Have you talked to Emma with regard to community outreach and using the resources of the Office of Community Affairs to do that outreach on this topic? It's going to be a big project, and I'd like to make sure we reach as broadly as we can in terms of input.
Yeah, she that office, of course, is on the list.
Great.
Of who we need to partner with, of course. Plus, we have the San Mateo Office of Arts and Culture with the San Mateo Arts Commission representative on that that collaboration working committee. So yes, that's among the many possibilities, but absolutely a plus as far as helping us move the project. Thank you.
Okay, terrific. Thank you for your report. Councilmember Rodriguez, report out this month?
Yes, thank you. Something that is related to Councilmember Lopez's a question in regards to the new Office of Equity. So a lot of you would remember Shireen Malik-Afzali. Formerly, she was senior manager for health policy at the Get Healthy in San Mateo. And so she was named the first chief equity officer. She has had actually a couple of public meetings, and it is a work in progress. She is gathering information from community-based organizations, faith-based organizations. I believe in order to sort of begin planification as to what to do and what approach to take. But to Linda's point, one of my recommendations was to also involve county staff, in terms of training, disseminating information, etc. And so I am part of those meetings, so I can continue. I'll be happy to continue reporting on the the status of, or whatever comes out of those meetings. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that I am also part of the planning committee for the OYE conference. OYE stands for Orgullo and Education, Pride and Education for youth here in our neighborhoods. And so the conference for OYE 2022 is already in the plans. It may take place at Kenyatta College, probably around March. A date hasn't been specified, but possibly the conference will be in person if COVID allows. And in the interest of time, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council Member Whitney. Report out this month, Blair?
No report this month.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Aki, Gabrielle?
No reports this month.
Okay, and Youth Alternate Corincita, do you have a report out this month, Sally?
Yes, I do. So hi, everyone. This is Citlali Corincita. For my reports, I'm actually currently working with Kenyatta College. So Kenyatta recently established a campaign, a vaccine campaign. And this campaign is to provide and give out information to get everyone to get the vaccine and to know the whereabouts about the vaccine. And then something I did want to share was our slogan. So it's a hashtag backs up Kenyatta. So I'll be sharing more information on that, and it's going to be open to the community. We're going to be partnering up with people in our local community. It's going to be great. I'll probably share the flyer next month. So, thank you.
That would be great. Thank you for that report, Citlali. The next item on the agenda is an off-street parking exception to allow for the continued use of a one-car garage and designate one uncovered parking space in the existing driveway associated with the 240 square foot rear addition at 811 15th Avenue. The presentation is going to be given by Brian Albini, who is a planner with the Planning and Building Department. Brian, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, council members, city, county staff, excuse me, and members of the public. As mentioned in the introduction of the project, this is an off-street parking exception for an existing single-family residence constructed in 1950, which is typical in North Fair Oaks with a single-car garage. Their proposal for a rear bedroom addition necessitates them resolving this off-street parking issue, the covered parking issue, nonconformity with the off-street parking exception, which requires a public hearing before you today. The context of the project is off 15th Avenue. You can see in the background behind the parcel a remnant of the Hetch Hetchy right-of-way. The extension will be limited to the rear of the property, shown here in orange. The existing single car garage is compliant for one car parking. However, they cannot accommodate a larger garage and therefore using the uncovered space in the existing driveway for the required second space. This is clearly shows that the existing driveway can accommodate more than one uncovered parking space. The project complies with CEQA Class 3 for, I apologize, Class 1 for minor additions to existing structures. And my recommendation is that the council approve the project and the findings in the staff report. I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for Brian? Any council members with questions? So I have a question, Brian. It appears from the photograph that there's actually that the existing driveway is wide enough to allow for parking on the on the left side of the driveway while allowing access to the garage. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And there will be no modifications to the front of the existing home.
Okay. No, and the reason that I ask is I'm pretty familiar with that portion of 15th, and parking is an issue there. So I want to be sure that we are indeed providing for off-street parking there, given the congestion that's going on there right now. Indeed, larger homes are being built, and I think that's only going to add to the congestion on that street. So it's good to see that they do indeed have two easily accessible off-street parking spaces. If there are no other questions, I have one more. Has there been any input from the neighbors with regard to this exception?
I've not received any comments through the 2 rounds of public noticing, both for this meeting and for the initial noticing.
Okay, very good. Are there any other questions from council members? Councilmember Rodriguez, I see your hand up. Ever?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So maybe I misunderstood something, but it appears that the parking space accommodates 2 cars easily. So why are they asking for an exception?
That's a good question, Councilmember. The parking regulations in our zoning code require that every single-family residence with more than 1 bedroom have 2 side-by-side covered parking spaces, either with a carport or garage. There are no provisions for uncovered spaces without the off-street parking exception permit.
Okay. I see. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council members? Is there any Councilmember Lopez? Linda, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to motion.
Oh, very good. Okay, I have to ask for public comment first, but is there any public comment on this exception?
If anyone has a public comment, please use the raise hand feature to organize a public comment. Anna, does anybody on your line have a public comment to share?
No public comments.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Then Councilmember Lopez, if you would go ahead with your motion, please.
I'll motion that the North Fair Oaks Council recommend the exception at, where's that address? 811 15th Avenue.
Do we have a second for that?
I second that motion.
Thank you very much. We need a roll call vote on this, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. So Chair Brooks Esser.
Yes.
Vice Chair Juan Carlos Prado.
Yes.
Councilmember Beatriz Cerrillo.
Yes.
Councilmember Joanny Gillespie.
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Everardo Rodriguez.
Yes.
And Councilmember Jennifer Lewis is absent. Councilmember Blair Whitney.
Yes.
Youth Councilmember Gabriela Aki.
Yes.
And alternate Youth Councilmember Citlali Corencita.
Yes.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. And our next item is a recommendation related to the Middlefield Road Improvement Project. In particular, the solar bench options. And the presentation is going to be made by Ulysses Vincent. He's the communications officer, in the Information Services Department. Ulysses, the floor is yours. Hi, you're on mute, Ulysses.
Yeah. Hi.
There we go.
great to see everyone again. I am very happy to be here today. I'm very specific to this agenda about smart benches, but we've been doing a lot of work since the last time I spoke with you guys a couple of months ago. We're hard at work with getting our final design for connectivity, all the things that you can't see that actually makes all of the fun stuff happen, power underground and to the poles. We've also done a few site visits where we had a really good time just kind of envisioning the experience that will be happening along that corridor. We've been looking at just kind of where the placements of some of the smart solutions will be. We also actually ate at Cuco's and had amazing burritos. We did a meeting with the City Council of Redwood City, kind of gave them the same presentation that you guys were doing to see if there's anything that we would want to kind of collaborate and partner with them on, since it's the same corridor just across the train tracks. So with that, I'm not sure if do you guys have the PowerPoint or do you want me to bring it up on my computer?
You could go ahead and bring it up, Ulysses. That would be helpful.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Let me just pull it up. Sorry about that. I have all of my work items. I was not prepared to do this. Hold on. Trying to close some of this out. Are you still there?
We are here.
All right. There you go. Hold on. All right. Share screen. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Let me just go up to the front. So again, we just wanted to just kind of give you a quick overview on the smart bench solution. While we were going through a lot of the items, we wanted to make sure that it fits well with what you guys have already approved after all of the surveying of the community the past couple of years. I'm just going to show you just kind of the selected designs, the proposed designs, the requirements that we have, some of the options and styles that are out there, and give our recommendations as well as an overview of where we stand today. So kind of working clockwise here, starting with the street lights to the left. Here are the pre-approved street lights and pedestrian lights that you have approved by the board earlier. Here are the selected colors, which is rust, and here you have a picture of the trash cans that were selected and the bike rack. So right there in the middle is what I'm going to talk about today, is the standard bench design, and that has a back, and the other one that is actually backless. So we had a lot of discussions with many vendors around the world who are in the space with smart benches. And so as we went through it, we wanted to keep it, powered, where we would use the solar power. We kind of vetted a lot of them where there were a lot of that had power requirements. And based on our research, a lot of it was, were not very successful applications of the technology of bringing power to the bench. So the solar solutions were the best ones that, at least from our experience and from the research that we've done, that was better. It was better to maintain, and obviously it's better for the environment. But with that said, we wanted to make sure that you were okay, because when you bring up the issue of just having a backless bench or one with a back, the designs when it comes to the solar powered piece of it, it's quite different. But these were the requirements that we had. We wanted to make sure that we kept the look similar and that you guys have already selected. We wanted to make sure that it had the charging capability that meets the needs today, as well as future proofing for mobile devices later on, where you may have wireless charging as opposed to just the USB type charging. We also wanted to make sure the bench, the size of it, fit in with what was already approved. There was slight variations between some of the benches that we looked at. And of course, we're going to be able to make sure that we mitigate the issues surrounding, potential vandalism or graffiti and of course the ease of maintenance as it relates to keeping it up. So these are some of the styles and options that kind of come out. So obviously the ones on the top are the back. They're the ones that the one on the top green one looks kind of closer to what the community had selected. The one in the middle is a little more modern. And then you get into some of the more sleeker look where you have that solar power panel embedded within the bench itself. And of course, the backless ones, quite frankly, these are the nicest ones, by the way, and I don't find them to be very nice looking, but these were some of the nicer ones that we've seen. Obviously, they do not fit the ones that you guys approved aesthetically. And there were others that had big old boxes on top of them. They were not very pleasant to look at, but these are some of the kind of the options that we had on the backless bench piece. And the reason why that design, by the way, they're embedded in this form and fashion is because, you know, which for us, it was an issue of, you know, when you have skateboarders and, you know, if you have the bench, if you have the solar panel that low, there was, you know, at least in San Francisco, for an example, they don't do the backless bench because of just because of the skateboards alone, because they would probably get damaged. So this is kind of one of the benches that we were looking at, and there's two others that are quite similar. So here you would have the solar panel on kind of like your back above the shoulder. It does have the ability to have the center armrest. And we're also looking at, it has 4 charge points altogether. Both of them are kind of right next to the solar panels. And what we're trying to do is to kind of have 2 on the top of them to have it kind of little customization there where if people are standing at the bench, they can plug into the side. And if people are sitting on the bench, then they can plug in underneath, which is very similar to the retrofits you may have seen at SFO or Oakland or some of the other airports that you've seen where they've retrofitted the charging capability at airports. So this is kind of where the way the bench looks as far as the orientation on the street from a side view. So as you can see, that Saab 900, by the way, which is a car I used to own many, many years ago, just so happens to be in this picture. That particular bench is where it would be located, and you can see how far it would be from that curve. So this is not the bench, this is not the decorative bench, this is the ones that are going to be kind of in between the decorative bench that would be in the bulb out area at the end of the street. And as you can see, obviously there's enough room for people to walk by. There's enough room there for the doors to open from the car. And of course, by the entire street design, you have the dynamics of that bicycle lane on the other side, so we don't have to worry about that. And sorry for my wind. I meant to close my window before this, but my window is wide open and you may hear a lot of noise. Here is just kind of an overview, like an overhead of what the street looks like. This is the north side, so where the train track is. And you can see in this particular picture, and you can see, actually, I could just point out where Kiosk is potentially going to be located right there. It's that little, looks like an iPhone. But as relates to the benches, if you kind of look going south to your right, you can see one of the benches there. It would be located in between one of those trees facing. In that case, there's an auto body shop, I believe, right there. Here, as you move further down the street, if you see on the top, you can see where that bus zone is, because as you know, the bus stops have been repositioned on the corridor, which when we did our walkthrough, we were able to kind of, you can actually see where the cutouts are. They've kind of actually marked the street up before they've actually made the cutouts. So you can see where that bus stop is. And in those situations where there's a bench at the bus stop, they're going to be repositioned to face the street. So those benches will face the street as opposed to facing the businesses. And again, as you move forward, and you can see the legend, and there's other things that you can see. There's a public Wi-Fi. There's some traffic analytics things that are going on. But specific to this agenda item, you can see again on the north side in the middle, there's another bench facing the street. Facing the business. And as you move right, and here, as we go south down that corridor, we have the same thing with the bus stops. On this particular corridor, by the way, this is the one where you have the decorative benches, so they are not impacted. So we're only talking about the non-decorative benches along the corridor, north and south of the decorative benches. And with that, that's me putting up an air quality monitor. So those will be going up very much at the end once we get all the pedestals. And with that, I'll be there to answer any questions that you might have.
Do we have any questions from council members?
Yeah. So I think specifically, though, I think, what we really wanted to know, because it was DPW that kind of brought up the issue of, unlike the other others here, let me move to the slide. When we got the entire packet of what the community approved, the benches looked just like they do down there. So it wasn't, we got the color where it said selected, but we didn't have a definitive answer on whether it was the back or backless. So what we're proposing though, as a result of the need for the solar paneling, the options would be something that looks more to the top left. That's kind of what we're looking to see if that's okay with the community.
I see a question from Councilmember Rodriguez. Ever?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ulysses, for the presentation. Pretty cool to have chargers and benches. That's smart. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, how many benches per block are planned?
Yeah, so there's a total of 18 benches along the corridor. And two of those, two of the benches were the ones that were deemed the decorative ones.
Only two out of the 18, you mean?
Yeah, so the decorative ones, I don't have that on this here because we didn't touch those. We didn't take those into consideration. But it was kind of like it's a whole big bold design and it had the mosaics on that. So that still stays the same. We didn't even touch it. They're beautiful. We were just only focusing on kind of the generic benches that were in between or right outside of that core.
Sounds good. And will there be trash receptacles next to all the 18 benches or, nearby?
Yeah, so where we have, and again, these were kind of preconceived prior to SMC Labs being involved with this process. But if you can see here, on some of them do correlate, but some of them don't. So if you look at, just find this one, starting on the north side, the first trash receptacle would be right there. It's in blue. That's the legend for the trash receptacles. So we did not have any active discussions with Public Works and their consultant on the placement of them. We were just looking at the technology surrounding them. So if you have any questions about that, we can definitely raise that to the DPW. But right now you can see those blue kind of animated looking ones. They're kind of on the corners, if you see. And I believe these were kind of, I'm not sure if they're a plus or a minus from what's there today. I honestly think there's more because when we did on-site visits, we didn't see that many. So I think they may have added more of the trash receptacles than they have there today. But to answer your question, like one of them by the bus stops, it looks like there's a trash receptacle at every bus stop for sure with the bench, but the ones in between, I don't seem to think that there is.
Yeah, I think it would be important to reconsider the location of trash receptacles, essentially because, benches are obviously places where people are going to spend some time, congregate, whatever, and whatever trash they produce while they're there is going to be thrown someplace. So convenience is got to be one of the things that is brought into the design so that people actually don't throw the trash, everywhere, but it is convenient for them to put in trash cans.
Okay.
And in addition, in terms of the bench designs, if you can put the slide, the illustration. I've seen this design in many places, not necessarily with the solar panels, but the design itself. And I have a personal issue with the armrest in the center, basically because it doesn't allow a person to lay down. And I know that, the design itself may be for that specific reason, but I think that, if somebody's not feeling well and wants to lay down for a few minutes, or, lay down while they wait for the bus, or, even a homeless person, which we don't have that problem here in North Fair Oaks, by the way. But, if a homeless person needs to spend the night, resting on a bench, I personally don't have an issue with that. So, just wanted to throw that in terms of the design. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Lopez, I see your hand up. Linda?
Yeah. Can you remind me I'm looking at number 7, the overview. Where is the kiosk the actual bench?
No. So the kiosk in this
Trying to
case,
figure out your little
yeah. So
icon.
yeah. So if you look on the bottom where it says, you can see a little legend. One says kiosk, the other one says traffic analytics, which is basically the devices that will.
The red. Oh, got
yeah.
it.
So the red thing is like a traffic signal, and we kind of mapped those around. I wish it was bigger. I just had eye surgery, so I'm pretty visually impaired right now myself. So this is actually a little small for me to read. But like, if you look at on this particular page, there's one kiosk location. And on this particular page, there's 2 benches. So if you look more to the right, you'll see that there's a bench right to the right of Pacific. And then there's another bench across the street from there.
Okay.
So that's where the bench locations
yeah,
are.
it's not that great on my copy. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the purpose of a kiosk? What is that?
So the kiosk actually is just going to be kind of it's kind of going to be a beacon that will be generated. It'll generate content for the community. It can showcase businesses on the community. It's a way to have engagement with the community as it relates to accessing county services, for an example. If you want to put up message boards, if you want to promote local businesses, if you want to find out bus information, if you want to find out weather information, air quality information, there's a ton of information that could be had. We're just looking right now at the technology. It's something that you can be able to assess from a screen. And I think I presented this at the last meeting, just kind of an overview of it. Or you can, it has voice control. So if you're trying to get questions about certain things it'll have the ability to do that. So we have those.
You did present, but it has been a while. So I'm trying to catch up on it. So I don't remember anything about the color rust. Right now we have, I'm going to the color now.
Okay.
Right now we have, I believe it's called the cobalt blue.
Sorry, went the wrong way.
Or maybe, did they repaint that?
Yeah,
aren't we using the cobalt blue right now for the parking lot? Green.
I'm not familiar with it. These were the documents that we received from Public Works, and rust was the selection for the color for the benches.
Okay, I don't remember having, it may be because it's been a while, but I don't remember having a conversation about color. Does anyone know what color the fencing is around the parking lot on Middlefield?
It's cobalt blue.
It is cobalt blue.
You're right, Linda.
That's what I thought. Okay, so yeah, there again, I don't remember anything about option C on the color, but I would say at this point, it would be good to keep it cobalt blue. But anyway, just kind of have a theme. That was one comment I'm making.
Okay.
My question though, and I'll finish up here. Can the benches, okay, if down the line we want to say, put up canopies, because there are some options that are coming out around discussions during a heat wave, for example, and one would be a possible canopy near the bus stop or as part of a bench or something. Would these benches be able to accommodate that if that is something that is going to be decided on later?
Yeah, so there are solar bench options that actually do have a canopy on top of them. So instead of having that solar panel behind your shoulder, it would be attached above in a canopy form. We didn't look at those. I have seen them. We didn't look at them because it wasn't what was presented to us as approved by you guys. But there is a design that, where you're sitting on the bench, it's like a little kind of canopy and the solar panel sits on top of that metal canopy. We didn't look into that.
That's because it hasn't come up since, we last met with you, a couple of years ago?
Well, not with me. I just did one presentation because
that's what I remember. I remember
it was
one
just a
with
couple.
you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that I would like then to throw that, on the table as far as maybe not all the benches, but some of the benches that are located near the bus stops have that kind of a protection.
Okay.
And how does that, I don't know how it impacts the trees. I just don't know, but that's just something that has come up in community meetings about what are some things that we can do, such as a cooling center or air center or canopies or to protect people that are, taking the bus or just walking from Fifth Avenue all the way down to the clinic. You see the moms with their kids headed down Middlefield, and on a hot day that would be helpful. So something to think about. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay.
Vice Chair Prado, you have a question, Juan Carlos?
Yes, I have a comment. I particularly like the benches, and it would be great if they would be that green that's illustrated there. I think it would be a great contrast with the blue. I don't think that not everything needs to be cobalt blue. I think that green would go well with the trees. And as far as the canopy, I completely agree. There's a need for that shade, but I think that's what the purpose of the trees along the sidewalk would bring once those trees mature. And so I think that's the idea along both sidewalks, is to provide some shade with those trees. I like that divider in the bench. I think that these benches are for the entire community, not just for certain people to monopolize their time there at the bench. I think it needs to serve all the communities. And I think that divider there will kind of keep people kind of moving along and let other people use the benches. I do agree that the garbage containers it would be great if we could have a garbage container per bench, because I think that people will sit there to maybe have a lunch or have a snack or something, considering that up and down the corridor, there are food venues, whether it's retail or restaurant themselves. So the idea of people eating on the street or eating on the bench, I think we need to be prepared for. I think it's going to be a common practice. So I think having garbage containers along each bench, I think will be necessary. So that's my commentary.
Okay. And what I'll say to that too, I just want to clarify. So on the garbage cans, I know that we are operating under the current MOU that was negotiated with the county and I believe Ecology. So I'm not sure if adding more, I'll look into what that means as far as the MOU that the county currently has. Maybe it's not a big deal for them to pick up more cans as opposed to less. I'm not sure, but I will check in with DPW and the Office of Sustainability to find out what kind of flexibility we have on kind of the movement. Because I think this is kind of where they are today, maybe a couple of more, but I will double check that for you for sure.
Thank you.
Deputy County Manager Bates, you have a question, Justin, or comment?
Yeah, unless any other commissioner had additional comment at this time, I would defer to them.
I don't see any right now. No, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of summarize where we are on this and appreciate all of the feedback and input provided tonight. And as Ulysses mentioned, I think there's some good things here that we can pass on. We're into the project now at this point, and I think really why Ulysses and ISD want to come to you today is really the bench design evolved from that pretty engaged process that many of you participated in years ago to land on that design. Because of the addition of the smart benches, the design was going to have to change somewhat. And so we really want to just come notify you, get your feedback. We're trying to stay true to the original bench design, which we know was not unanimous. We know that there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of engagement, a lot of different options back then. But we in selecting the one that, or not selecting, in recommending the one that Ulysses was highlighting, we were trying to stay true to that consensus design that we achieved some years ago now. And so I think that we would be looking for today, and I think we encourage anyone else who has additional comments, is whether or not, we feel like we're staying true to that design, or if the addition of that solar panel in the back, significantly changes it. But really just want to get feedback on that particular issue.
Are there any comments from council members with regard to, I see Juan Carlos, you have your hand up. Do you have a follow-on question, or did you just not take your hand down from before? Okay. Council member Rodriguez, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. So in my opinion, the solar cells are a great idea. They would be useful. I just consider that the shading from the trees does not affect, those solar panels with shading. And also, I'm not sure if it can be considered adding some of the solar panels to, other places like, the lighting poles, for example, that are high and likely not affected by the shade of the trees, or the roof of the kiosk. And in regards to the colors, I think it would be great if the colors chosen could be revised with council. I participated a fair amount, through the design, and I don't remember spending a whole lot of time, going through the color scheme selection. And I know there's a mismatch. Like there's brown along Fifth Avenue, there's black also along Middlefield Road and some of the trash cans. And so I think it would also be important to, if possible, to coordinate with the city of Redwood City and see what sort of colors they're utilizing for these public receptacles, benches, lighting, etc. Considering that it's going to be, pretty much the same corridor all the way to downtown. So I think that would be a good idea. Thank you.
Very good point. And I do want to let you know that we did take the issue of the foliage on the corridor. We definitely took that into account, particularly the ones that were in between the trees. And the good thing about a lot of the technology, they only need about 3 or 4 hours of sunlight and to be able to charge for 2 days. So I think we're going to be okay, but you're right. We actually researched the kind of tree that's there and see how high it goes and how wide. I think DPW did a really good job with choosing the trees that doesn't grow kind of too wild, but it's manageable. So, but we did take that in consideration about the sunlight being able to hit the solar panels. And just so you know, also as part of the kiosk design, that'll be another option for people if they just want to do a quick charge of a mobile device, they'll be able to do that at the kiosk too.
Are there any other questions from council members at this point? Okay, maybe I can summarize what I've heard. I think the idea of benches with backs as opposed to the backless benches is the way to go. Is that, Ulysses, you're saying the ones without the backs are not recommended by planning? Is that correct?
Yeah. So the backless bench is what, we were recommending as a team with ISD and SNC Labs.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to double check with you because Public Works was under the understanding that backless benches is what you guys had approved. We just got a picture of both. So we went with the direction of where the technology was. And for the purposes of this corridor, knowing that, again, the issues with having a backless with just being damaged and potentially damaged because of all kinds of, at least here in San Francisco, it's skateboarders really, to be honest with you. But here, they don't really have that ability to cop. They would be very talented to be able to get that high on a skateboard to kind of slide across the back end of those. So, but yeah, that, one on the top left is one. The one in the middle is a little more modern, but it could be retrofitted again to have what you need. But we just wanted to get into we just want to get the go ahead to say it's okay to do backless, it's okay to do the solar. There is the issue of color. We did get rust, is what we were told. This is not the first time the color option has come up, but if that's something that we need to, and Justin, I'll leave that to you. I know that I know the color is important, and I think DPW does want to start ordering these things. So I know we got rust, and I already have the color match for it, but this is not the first.
We'll take us all back to DPW, and I don't have the full bench specs on me now, nor do I recall from years ago the feedback regarding the color. But we're hearing, the input today that maybe rust is not the most popular, but I'm not sure where they are on certain kinds of color scheme components of it. But we'll take all this feedback back to the project team to integrate as much as they can.
Okay. And what I was trying to summarize, Justin, basically what I was hearing was it sounded like benches with backs were preferred over those without backs. There was a preference for cobalt blue in color to match the fence, I guess, by the parking lot, but that green elsewhere was preferred, and that we need to look at putting canopies over benches near the bus stops. Is there anything else any of the council members would like Justin to take back to DPW that conflicts with that or is different? Because that's what I was hearing.
No, I'm good with that through the chair. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else on the council? Anything different from what I just tried to summarize what I had heard and kind of what makes sense here.
Great. Thank you for that. I do want to manage expectations. We're very far in this process, so I don't know that all of that will be able to be integrated, but we will take all that back to DPW. Okay.
Do we need a motion to send that back to DPW? We have it as a recommendation on the agenda this evening. I don't know if Tim can provide guidance on that or what our next steps are here.
There's no requirement for a formal motion. I think the discussion is sufficient for a message to be taken to the relevant parties.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Is there any public comment, by the way, on this? Can we check with that first before we close this agenda item out?
Definitely. If anyone from the public has a public comment, now is the time to share. Please use the raise hand feature. I'll just give it 10 more seconds. Okay, Anna, does anyone on the line have a public comment to share?
No, there's no one.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from Redwood City Together, which is going to be delivered by Rafael Avendano, who's the director of Redwood City Together. Rafael, the meeting is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Great to be here. For the Chair Brooks and the North Fair Oaks Council, it's great to see many of my fellow friends and comrades from the community. It's good to be back. Just a little bit about me. I'm the Executive Director of Redwood City Together. I've been in this role now for about 1 year and 3 months. Prior to taking on this role, I was actually the Director of Programs for the Siena Youth Center in North Fair Oaks for about close to 9 years. Helped start the center with Sister Christina. So my heart for North Fair Oaks pounds hard. And I do a lot in the community to support the mission of the North Fair Oaks Community Council. So it's very exciting to be here and to share a little bit about how the council moves and grooves and pounds with Redwood City Together. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go through like, what is Redwood City Together and how do we mix with y'all, right? So I'm going to manage my slides here. Just give me a minute. All right. Give me a thumbs up if you could see my slides. All right.
We can, Raphael.
See some thumbs up in there. Sweet. I'm going to ask you to be engaged too. All right. So the mission of Redwood City Together is to forge meaningful partnerships to support the success of all youth and families in Redwood City and North Fair Oaks, to engage and strengthen the community. We just actually updated our logo. We used to be called Redwood City 2020. I'm sure some of you know about Redwood City 2020. You might be on our newsletter. Now it's Redwood City Together. And we're fiscally sponsored by the city of Redwood City. More about that soon. What we do, right? We work to support children, youth, and families to be healthy, safe, and successful by facilitating collaboration and partnership with CBOs in the community. We help incubate projects. When you think of acute needs in the community, we go after those. For example, I've worked with many people on this call. One of the acute needs that jumped was the COVID-19 vaccine. We were pulled into this work early by many of the colleagues here to support outreach, to support the vaccine clinics early last year. That's one of the efforts and initiatives that we call an acute need. Another one is transportation. We are very close to what's still needed in North Fair Oaks and Redwood City, to be honest. We need more sharrows, we need more green lanes, we need more accessible transportation. So we're working on that actively through our Safe Routes to School initiative. We try to spark innovation by being mindful and inclusive of seeing who's at the table and who's not. And I see that there's a youth member in the house here. So major props to the Youth Kenyatta College member. It's exciting. And we also leverage resources and fund programs. So I love being in that space, actually, where we kind of talk to philanthropy program partners and we say, this program is doing this and this is what they do, and they need funding for it. So we always try to make sure we leverage our agency, right? We want to throw that word around equitably, right? Yeah. So we make sure that agency is something we share. And I'll talk about how our agency is a big part of what we do. We also do research and evaluate work. So one of the big things that's happening next week is the COVID-19 needs assessment briefing number 2. Some of you may have seen that. It was circulated all throughout county and our city and North Fair Oaks communities around what the most acute needs are around our community during the pandemic: housing insecurity, food insecurity, and medical insecurity. And we surveyed on our first sample 1,400 residents of Redwood City and North Fair Oaks. In the second sample, we have about 700 and so. We'll have more next week. I'll shoot an invite to y'all. But we work closely with the Stanford's Gardner Center for Youth and Their Families. And this sample is going to be quite interesting, to be honest, because we did a lot of canvassing in the community, walking, and we went to St. Anthony's Padua, right down the street from y'all, where you usually meet, to make sure we surveyed folks who don't have access to internet or to phones, folks who are homeless. So the sample will be quite different. We also provide professional development for community-based organizations in the area to really make sure that, areas where they normally don't have funding for, we support them. And we have a really strong collaboration with CBOs in the area. We work with upwards to 60 of them throughout the county as well. And we try our best to make sure that we don't duplicate, but we are collaborating. I really believe in cross-pollination. I mean, I ran a youth center. I was the only staff member when I got hired. So I made a lot of friends. I use the same formula in running this program. It's all about collaborating, really making sure you ask when somebody's doing something like, hey, how'd you do this? How can we collaborate and do it, with you? That's the beautiful part about my new role here at Redwood City Together, is that there's already built relationships. We're an organization that's been around for over 20 years. So it's pretty exciting. Our approach is to focus on the positive future for our community. We believe in holistic solutions. That means including you all. I'm really excited I'm on the agenda today because I want to be more mindful of having you all. Oh, I think I have an echo, sorry. Of having you all at the table and a part of our working groups and initiatives. We also want to make sure that you all know that our methodology is based on collective impact. And this is our logic model. I know it's kind of like all over the place, right? But it's science. And these are our partners who are at the table. You remember agency? These are the folks that pay a membership fee and are at-large members that help us move and groove our strategy, our activities, our measurement approach, our community, and ultimately help us advance policy in North Fair Oaks and Redwood City. Who's at the table? You are. The North Fair Oaks Community Council has a seat at the table. Currently, there's 2 openings. We definitely need a youth member and we need another council member. Currently, we've had Ever on the seat. And this was just adopted last year with something I worked really hard on in my first year. And I want to thank Supervisor Warren Slocum and his team in District 4, as well as Justin. I know you're here representing, so I appreciate that motion. We also have Chan Zuckerberg on the seat. We have the County of San Mateo Human Services Agency, as well as the health systems. We have Kenyatta College. The city of Redwood City is our fiscal sponsor. So they are the ones that take care of our HR. They're really great. They absorb our fringe benefits. So I'm a city employee, just so you know. I'm being super transparent of how this operates, right? The city of Redwood, the Redwood City School District is the one that gives us our office space on the McKinley campus. And they're also a member at the table. Sequoia Healthcare District, the John W. Gardner Center, and the Sequoia Union, and Kaiser. So these 10 help us really move and groove towards what the acute needs, activities, and initiatives are of the program. And we have 4 working groups currently that are executive team members within these kind of seats help us move. We have a fundraising and finance working group, a welcoming Redwood City working group. The fundraising and finance deals around, how we fund Redwood City Together, but also how we find funding for CDOs. The welcoming Redwood City working group basically does a lot around how do we make a more inclusive Redwood City and North Fair Oaks around activity. Some of the activities that stem from there are the Oye Latinx Conference, the Undocu Support Initiative that's part of the NFOCCS Community Action Plan. We also have a data council working group that deals with a lot of what I just explained on the needs assessment that we work on. And you have a packet that I shared with you. I'm not going to go over all of this, but it has all of the milestones that each one of those initiatives has kind of absorbed. And early childhood, this is the one that's still kind of like, we still have kind of some work to do there. But last year we held a space of convening to support childcare facilities that were hit hard with the pandemic. So with relief funding for the childcare spaces, and there's many in North Fair Oaks actually. So, we convene, we facilitate, we incubate, we innovate, we evaluate, we provide trainings. These are some of the highlights of our work. I'm not going to go over all of this verbatim because I want to make sure there's time for questions. And this is a really important slide. I want you all to know that we really believe in the Cradle to Career pipeline. I know this is a big for Kenyatta. We really believe in making sure that we create a birth through adult kind of stream of opportunity, I like to say, right? Where criminalization is not a part of the equation anymore for our youth of color, primarily in North Fair Oaks, which is the youngest, right, community in the county of San Mateo. And so we really believe in high quality, making sure that you're at the table, making sure you're not spoken for, right? And making sure that you know that we believe in having a common, you could say, a common ground when it comes to building agendas for our community. So we really believe in this. I'm sure you've seen this, and we believe in it. I just want to make sure you knew. And these are our initiatives. It's on the document I sent you. That document also has the milestones. One of the big milestones that has kept us busy this past summer is working with the Office of Community Affairs and all the community-based organizations and helping vaccines in the community. So we've helped with the CBOs and OCA, helped vaccinate over 1,500 community residents, which is a big deal. So major props to OCA, the CBOs, and the partnerships that exist. That's exciting news. And we're not done. We have a really great team of youth and adult promotoras, and they've been hitting the streets hard based on our districts. Another thing we do is the Libre Initiative. And I feel like that's an area we can really work with more. I know Ever's really been involved, and so has Linda, with the Undocu Support Initiative that has a lot of Libre movement. So major props to you both for supporting that movement. And there's all the health fair. You have always been instrumental in supporting the health fair. So major props to the council. And I hope you continue to do that because it's a big event. This past year, we had over 300 people. It was held at Red Morton for the first time also. So yeah, with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions because I just talked a lot. Thank you for having me again. Linda.
Hi, Rafael.
Hey.
Good to hear from you, and I can see your smile. Thank you for being here tonight. Rafael, the one question I have, and it's really a big concern because I don't see it really being dealt with. And maybe it's, I don't see it, but I just feel like there might be a gap. How can we fast track, or you probably already have a plan, how can we fast track our youth to getting connected to CBO board of directors, commissions, just overall more connection so that they're sitting at the table helping to make these decisions? Because if we are not doing what we need to do in that area, I think we have a real problem. And you, as former director of Siena Youth Center, all the work that was done with Siena, I mean, I saw the connections made, but I don't feel out in this world, I don't think it's happening. So I don't know, just something I wanted to put out there as a concern I have. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may, Chair Brooks.
Please.
One of the things that has been really discussed on our executive team and our leadership council is having a seat at the table for a North Fair Oaks youth member. And I see that you all have that in Silali. One of the things that I wanted to make sure you knew is like how we operate, what our nuts and bolts are, what we're doing, but also to openly invite Silali to be at the table of one of our working groups, to be a part of our Redwood City Together Leadership Council. Once again, you have 2 open seats for that. And it would really mean a lot to us to be able to get a fresh mind, to be able to move really the activity that we're doing. And I've talked about this actually with Mayra Arellano, another leadership council member from Cañada, who is the Promise director. And once again, I wanted to make sure I explained to everyone like what we're doing, before this was kind of proposed. But yeah, it's great to see Silali here, but that's an idea, Linda. And yeah, love for any follow-up on that.
Yeah, thank you, Rafael.
Councilmember Rodriguez, you have a question?
Thank you, Brooks. Not a question, but just wanted to comment that basically underline the tremendous work that Redwood City Together is doing, not only in city of Redwood City, but also right here in North Fair Oaks. And to say that there's a lot of good work that is not seen, but that it is felt by community members in the form of actual benefits. And Rafael actually made it possible for the North Fair Oaks Council to have a seat at the table for the first time in this organization. And, I'm personally grateful for that, but it is also a great opportunity for all the council members to join at some point in the near future. Particularly our youth members, I would encourage them to keep getting involved. So yeah, thank you, Rafael.
Thank you very much, Eva. Councilmember Kurincita, it's at Lali, if you have a comment or question.
Yes, I have a comment. Hi, Rafael. So nice to meet you. This is good work. This is good stuff. Definitely, I would love to be updated with any news and anything like of the sort. I would love to be in communication with you. Maybe it's something I could present to people in, my business meetings at, the ASCC. So then we get even more, student senators to get involved, because our current senators, they love to get involved. They're very flexible and they're all hands on deck. But I love the invitation, and I would love to be followed up with anything of the sort. So if you could contact me, I could put my email in the chat, or I don't know how you, what your preferred way of communication is.
Excellent.
That would be terrific. Councilmember Lopez, Linda, I see your hand up.
Oh, yeah. Rafael, I didn't know that if you realize that we have a second youth council member.
Thank you.
But we do. Her name's Gabriella. I don't know. Is she on the phone tonight?
Yes, she is there.
Oh.
Yes, I am here.
Oh, hi, Gabriella. I didn't know. Thank you.
Yeah, per the chair, there's many ways to be involved in a lot of our initiatives. And they're really engaging for young people. Once again, we have a whole Youth Promotoras program to support movement in North Fair Oaks. And it's ran by actually a former North Fair Oaks Youth Initiative alum, Sequoia Dream Club alum, Sequoia High School alum, and Elisa Chavez, who has been a part of the North Fair Oaks community for very long. So we're all about being local, and I'm sure it would mean a lot to District 4 to have more representation at the table next to the mayor of Redwood City, city manager, next to Luis Rogers, the chief of health, right? That's exciting stuff. I mean, these are our future young folks that deserve to be next to those folks.
Councilmember Rocky, Gabriella, go ahead.
Well, yeah, adding on to what Sigali said, it is amazing, and I would love to get more information on it, since I am also part of the Boys and Girls Club, the Forest High School Center, where there are a lot of teens that will also really appreciate this opportunity and get involved, as well as I do attend Sequoia High School, so I can also get people involved there as well.
Thank you so much.
we have some engaged youth members here, Rafael. If you couldn't guess, they're both terrific.
Yeah, so I would love to just follow up with you, Chair, and just really make sure that we fill those 2 seats this coming year. One with the youth member, maybe one with an adult member that's interested. Being that you will be official voting members of everything Redwood City Together does, and the beauty of it is North Fair Oaks Community Council will always have a seat now forever at the table, being that they're a non-paying member and it's been a part of now our membership agreement. So that's exciting for the community of North Fair Oaks.
That's great. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments from council members? Do we have any public comment for Rafael?
If anyone has a public comment, please use the raise hand feature to organize any public comments. You will have 2 minutes to share. Okay, Anna, does anyone on the line have a public comment?
No public comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
I'm seeing a chat message from Ever, who indicates his interest in continuing to report on what goes on with Redwood City Together, and I appreciate that. Obviously, a lot of activities going on in the council do reach out to our youth members, Raphael, and thank you so much for your presentation and all the work that you do, quite honestly, in the community.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, sir. Really appreciate being here.
You bet. Last presentation of this evening has to do with county redistricting. It's going to be presented by Deputy County Manager Justin Mates. Justin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Esther. Good evening, everyone. I think I'm going to try to keep this, my presentation and comments as short as possible to leave any remaining time for questions. We came to your council a couple months ago when the recruitment for the county's district lines advisory commission was ongoing. As you may recall, the commission is comprised of 15 members. They were recommended by the League of Women Voters through an independent process, and the board thereafter appointed those 15 members. The commission is now formed since we last spoke on this topic, and they've started having meetings. I think they've had 6 or 7 meetings at this point. It's a pretty condensed time frame for this redistricting process, and just to level set and remind anyone and any members of the public who may be on, the redistricting process is legally required every 10 years, and essentially every 10 years based on the most recent census, the supervisorial districts in the county have to essentially be equalized to make sure that each county supervisor represents an equal number of residents. And so we are now in that process based on the 2020 census. Now, as you may recall, the 2020 census was a little bit delayed and postponed because of the pandemic. And that has had a domino effect because we can't do our redistricting process unless and until we get all of the census updated data. And that data typically is released in April in an ordinary census period. It was released in August this year. And after the federal government and the Census Bureau releases it, the state of California then has some corrections and some modifications based on the way that California handles the census. It primarily goes to where inmates in prison, state prison, are allocated, what county they're allocated to. And then the state has to then release that data. And once that happens, then we can use it for redistricting. The state, I think, did it this week. And so our demographer is now processing that data. As you can imagine, this usually happens in April. We're now at the end of September. So the start of this process has been quite delayed. The end, unfortunately, has not moved at all. And that's really a statutory deadline of December 15th, whereby the supervisorial districts the Board of Supervisors has to adopt the final map of the supervisorial districts. And the reason for that hard December 15th deadline is that the June primary for Board of Supervisors, that date's not moving. And so anyone who wants to run has to really know what supervisorial district they fall in and what they might represent. So unfortunately, this has made a very condensed process. We are grateful to the commission for being a very engaged commission. These are volunteer residents just like you all who want to serve their communities and serve the county and take on this extracurricular. It has been quite a time commitment, but they're really engaged and wanting to get into the process and helping to spread the word, and it's been great. So let me tell you where we are. So because the census data was not yet ready, and it's still being processed as we speak, these initial have really been about getting the word out as best we can to the community and getting input from the community about the process, and particularly about a couple subjects I'm going to talk to you more about, because we still want to solicit that public comment. We've had a meeting so far with in a non-pandemic world, we would have had a meeting physically in every current supervisorial district, but of course we're not in a non-pandemic world. And so we have instead had district-themed meetings that were meant to introduce residents to the process, introduce residents to the online mapping tools, which Council Member Cerrillo mentioned earlier, and solicit some public comment. That's what has characterized the meetings in September. Over the next week, the data becomes available, which means that those online mapping tools are now going to be populated with the final demographic data, and people can actually start drawing lines, making districts, submitting proposed maps to the commission. The commission will meet during the month of October in order to consider any submitted maps, any submitted testimony about a key topic called communities of interest, which I'll get to in a second. At which point in October, by the end of October, the commission will recommend a final map to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors will then have a number of meetings in November and December and ultimately adopt that final map before December 15th. It's a lot of meetings in not that much time. And so that I'm presenting to you today is to help get the word out to any folks who may be watching live or watching this meeting later on, as well as to ask the council's support and help in helping us amplify the message and to really get as robust public participation as possible. So let me share my screen now and talk a little bit about some of the ways that folks can, the public can participate and contribute to this really. It's really a once in a 10-year opportunity to impact the way that elections run in our county for county supervisor. Now, hopefully, are you seeing my slide? Is that coming through?
It's there, Justin. Yes.
Great. The county wants to hear from you. This is kind of the bottom line of everything I'm saying tonight, and that's really all the ways in which the public has been able to and will continue to be able to provide their input into this process. We have an online survey about communities of interest. Now, communities of interest, it's a very particular term. It's a term used in this redistricting process. What is it? A community of interest is really the basic building block of any electoral district. It's a group of people that share a common bond or interest. It's a concentrated population that should be, or in the opinion of whoever's describing this community of interest, that should be included in a single district for purposes of effective and fair representation. So examples of communities of interest could be senior citizens in a certain area, recent immigrants from the same country or region of the world, people who use a particular public transportation stop. There's many different ways to describe a population that shares some sort of bond. And the reason why it's so important for members of the public to provide feedback on this is how the commission learns about not only the census will tell us how many people live where, but this testimony and comment really tells the commission what those communities look like, where they live, and how and which communities should be kept together to the maximum extent possible so as to ensure effective representation. And so we have an online survey on our website that folks can fill out. It's just a 3-question survey. We also have it in paper and email form, and we will be providing it to all the commissioners tonight and ask that you please consider sending it out to your networks and letting people know who may come to you wondering about this process, how they can get involved. So you can do that survey. You can also just email that public comment of any sort, but particularly about communities of interest. You can just describe it in words and email it to our email address, districtlines@smcgov.org. If you are really interested in kind of doing a deep dive on maps, as was mentioned earlier, we have online mapping tools. Some folks really like these. Some folks find it to be a pretty involved process, maybe more time than they have. It's all good. Whatever folks want to do. If you enjoy maps, the maps get down to the census block area and you can build different districts and it'll give you the demographics of the districts you've built. Some folks find it really interesting and engaging and want to submit maps. That's another terrific way to provide your input into this process. If you can do all of those things in paper and submit it to us as well, either scan and email it to that email address or to the county manager's office to the address on the slide here. And finally, something new we're trying this year for this process is you can provide public comment by social media, by Twitter or Facebook. Just use the hashtag SMC District Lines, and that public comment will be considered public comment specifically with respect to the District Lines Advisory Commission. And what we're going to do over the next few weeks is assemble all the public comment we get, whether it's at a meeting, which, by the way, the meeting dates will be on the website. And so public comment at a meeting is another great way to provide comment. Those comments will all be transcribed and added to a public comment document all the email, all the social media posts will all be assembled into a publicly accessible table, which just shows all of the public testimony regarding communities of interest in our county. It'll be available to the public as well as to the commissioners and to the Board of Supervisors to consider as we look to, as the commission looks to recommend and the board ultimately adopts a final map. We also have a couple of flyers that we will also share with you. There's a one-pager, like I said, that describes the survey. There's also, hopefully this is showing up, sort of more specific prompts to help people think about their communities of interest and how they might describe them. And there's a QR code here that will get you to the website. We also have them in Spanish, and we will be sharing those with the council after this meeting. With that, I'll stop sharing and I'll stop talking, and happy to take any questions anyone may have.
Do we have any questions or comments from council members? Councilmember Rodriguez, I see your hand up, Ever.
Thank you, Justin. Very good information. Is there a deadline by when public comment is going to be received?
So there's public comment will be received throughout this entire process. If anyone's listening, I would urge you, the sooner the better. The sooner you make your comment, the sooner it will be considered. But that table I described will be continued to be added to. And then, of course, there's the commission's process, and then they'll make a recommendation to the board. And the public is also welcome to comment directly before the Board of Supervisors through that same way. So I suppose the ultimate deadline is when the Board of Supervisors makes a final adoption of the map, either in November or more likely early December. But I really would encourage anyone who'd like to provide input to provide it earlier. And if you get it done before October or in the next few weeks, then the commission will specifically be able to consider it as well.
And another question is there information that could tell the public what may be the conveniences or inconveniences of being, in one district over being in another?
Do you mean like the impacts of being in?
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what it really means to for you as a resident to have your district be changed.
Sure. So our website has some of that. It has FAQs about the process, and then we do have a little information on that on the one pager that we'll share with you, and really try to let folks know about how the kinds of decisions that the Board of Supervisors makes and how that might impact your community. Part of this process is also to hear from residents how they think, having a certain among different districts would impact them and how that might not be fair representation. So there's a little bit of that back and forth, but yes, we do have information on the website, and it's also a little bit on that flyer that we'll share with you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from council members? Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but I believe the numbers that we saw, and I think they're included in your deck, allude to the fact that District 4 is going to have to expand some way geographically. It looks like we're 4,000 or 5,000 people below kind of that equitable distribution number you were talking about, where each of the districts have to be the same size in terms of population. So I guess point of bringing this up is there will be change to the district simply because the numbers bear that out, at least the preliminary census numbers.
Sure, and I'm happy to share. I think what you're referencing is the sort of ideal size district.
Yeah, that's it.
Based on the 2020 census. Let me go ahead and share that slide so you can see that. Is that coming through now? It says non-adjusted.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is non-adjusted. So the numbers might move a little bit, but like I said, it's mainly about the state prison population and where they are attributed. But so in an ideal world, every district would be exactly equal. And for our county, that would be approximately 152,900 to give right around there, 888. And so based on current data, you can see that districts 2 and 3 have a few too many over that, or a few over that, and districts 1, 4, and 5 have under that. So ideally, they'd all be the same. This kind of is a visual representation of what I said. Whether or not, the district lines actually move, I think that's something the commission needs to hear about and needs to balance, because it's not just, perfectly equal. There's also a component of, and there's a whole priority list that comes from federal and state law regarding trying to keep, to the best extent possible, keeping cities, communities of interest together, contiguity, right? Keeping districts that are actually, neighboring to each other. But yes, Chair Esther, I think to your point, District 4 right now is a little under the ideal number.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from council members for Justin?
Great. Well, thank you all for the time. If anyone thinks of any questions or has any questions afterward, please feel free to reach out. We really appreciate any help you can provide to help amplify the message and get the word out there among the public. Thank you.
Okay, let me check real quickly too if there's any public comment on this issue. Jennifer, do you see any public comment out there?
No, currently there's no public comments, and we don't have any public attendees on this call at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Justin. Okay, we'll wrap up for this evening. Thank you very much to the presenters. Accomplished a lot this evening, a lot of topics of importance to the community. Thank you to the members of the public who attended, as well as members of the media. Michelle Irichetta from Redwood City Pulse, thanks for attending this evening. And as always, thank you to the county staff, Jennifer, Tim, Justin, and Maggie, for their support, attendance, and contribution at these sessions. Our next meeting date, if the council members would please put it in their calendar, we have a regular session on Thursday, October 28th at 7 o'clock. One scheduling note, we were originally scheduled to have a study session for November. It was actually going to be a community forum on the update to the housing element of the county general plan. I've been informed by Will Gibson of the planning department that the county won't be prepared to do that until December. And I'd like to suggest to the council that we move that study session from November 18th, when it would normally be scheduled, to December 16th. Would a council member like to make a motion to approve that scheduling change in order to accommodate the community forum?
I make the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Linda. I don't believe we need a roll call. I think we can just affirm that we approve that. All members who approve of this with an aye. Is that correct, Tim? Yes, Emma, please.
Hi, we normally, just to let you know, in November, we normally do not have a study session because of the fourth Thursday lands on Thanksgiving. So therefore, the regular session goes on the week before. And December, they traditionally do not have a meeting because, again, it's the fourth Thursday is on Christmas. So
yeah, understood. We had originally mistakenly scheduled a study session for November. The importance of the housing element drove us to suggest that perhaps having one in December would be a good idea this year, even though we do not normally have either a study session or a regular session in December. Do we need a roll call on this to do something like this, Tim, or would a simple aye, nay be appropriate?
Well, if it is a vote of the council, it does require that it be done by a roll call vote.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Jennifer, can we do a roll call on that?
Definitely. All right, Chair Brooks Esser.
Yes.
Vice Chair Juan Carlos Prado.
Yes.
Councilmember Beatriz Cerrillo.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnny Gillespie. Okay. Councilmember Linda Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Everardo Rodriguez.
Yes.
And Councilmember Jennifer Lewis is absent. Councilmember Blair Whitney.
Yes.
Youth Council Member Gabriela Ake,
Yes.
and Youth Council Member Citlali Corencita.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Back to you,
terrific.
Chair.
Motion passes. Study session then will be held in December. That concludes our business for this evening. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second? Very good. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you all. Good night.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Good night.
you. Good night, everybody.